All right, so we just got developer approval last night for this track for Yes, My Warlord. It's the lobby theme. So I'm going to go ahead now and dial in the mix a little bit, export it, and make it so it is a cleanly looping track that can just get dropped into Unity or Godot and is going to be ready to rock and roll. So let's jump in to Logic here and let's start cooking. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to export the current mix as it is as an MP3 and I actually want to listen to it. I've got a set of speakers on my little laptop over here that I actually like to check mixes on because it sounds so radically different from what I'm hearing in my headphones that it's a fantastic, at least for me, way of checking things. Now, when I first started mixing, what really helped me was checking things on many different types of speakers, because then you start to understand how different speaker systems act. At this point, if it sounds good in my headphones and it sounds good off of these little computer speakers, I'm good to go. All right, let's check this out. Okay. Okay. So a couple of things. Right now, the high percussion are a little loud here. Whoa, Nelly, that is quite loud. There we go. That'll do it. Or not. These guys are a little loud. Interesting. Bring these guys back just a scotch. These guys back just a scooch. Listen to that. Yeah, and that fuzzy kick I'm going to bring back just a decibel too. Alright, now this thing where the more goblins come in wasn't really translating on that other set of speakers. Oh, something got messed up in our strings over here. It's 10.7. Okay, mixer. Minus 10.7, there it is. There we go. Yeah, I think what we're going to need to do here actually is separate out these action hits even more. And just have the action hits mid and action hits low, because those high hits are a little too loud, and the low hits, I like them very much where they are. All right, so boom, got lows, and now I'm going to take the lows out of this one. And now we're going to bring these mid ones back 1 decibel. We'll see what that does. What I'm looking for here is I'm looking to get more clarity on that bass line to make sure I can really hear the bass line. Why am I turning everything else down and not turning the basses up? Well, that's because if I wanted to add in more strings, I want the entire library to be at the same volume, so then I can play with dynamics within that string library. Leave that alone. And so I'm actually moving everything else around the strings. And it's exactly what I do as I'm using any other type of orchestral library too. I'm going to move around the library. Is coming out way better because I'm bringing all those mid drums back. It's leaving way more space for the nice. I'm also gonna make it so the octave up cello, bass ends just before the loop. I'll get it one more note. I'm gonna test this out. Yeah, there we go. And then it loops. Okay. Now let's listen to these goblin chants, see if these are coming out better too. I want to hear the contrast because it just sounds like it starts with like a couple goblins and then there's a lot more goblins. So maybe these kicks can come back even more. I'm going to bring the kicks back a decibel. Here, I'm actually gonna have the kick come up 1.6. Just bring it up to 0 would work well. There we go. And so I'm actually coming in and automating all the drums get quieter in this first like 2/3 of it, and then the last third, the drums are actually much louder. And why I say they're much louder is because it's cumulative, right? So right there, I said I was turning the kicks back 1 decibel. Actually, I turned the kicks back 2 decibels because there was 2 kick sounds there, and I turned them both back by 1 dB. So now when I bring them both up by 1.6, I'm actually turning the kicks up cumulatively by 3.2 decibels. which does make a significant difference. All right, let's listen to this goblin effect again here. Test the panning. Let's see if we pan these guys a little bit more. If they'll stand out a little bit more. And if not, I'll go in and do some other stuff too. Oh, that's better. Right, so when I'm making it sound like there's a goblin horde, like there's more, well, maybe not a horde, but more goblins, I'm actually panning it out even more, so it's really sounding like there's more of them and that they're spread out over a larger area. All right, time for us to check this mix. Export this out. Pop that over to the teeny tiny little computer speakers over here. There we go. Okay. Let's give this a listen. Wow, already I can hear the basses so much clearer because we turned those mid drums back. All right, so that kick is still coming out too much. I'm going to turn it back too, because the more I'm turning this kick back, the clearer and cleaner everything is. So I'm going to turn this kick back. It was actually too loud after the drop. So I'm turning it back 1 dB, and once the drop, I'm calling it the drop, happens, I'm going to bring it up by like 1 dB. That's too much of a difference on what we just did. Interesting. So I'm actually going to bring this down now because it's actually becoming too exposed. I want it to be more in the background. So I'm going to bring the goblin vocals up to when they split and the kick drum comes in down a little bit. Almost 2 dB. It's just this last one right here. I'm just going to adjust the volume slightly. Even more. And so what I'm doing is I'm looking at the peak of the volume of the waveform, and then I'm automating directly against it to reduce the volume. Which also, by the way, is what a compressor does for you, so. let's give that a listen. This might be our last pass here before we are good to go to deliver this piece. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out into a looping session, which we'll do live here as well. And we'll make sure that the loop is clean. Also need to fix the title. It says Lobbery instead of Lobby. You know what? Instead of transferring it, how about I just use the... Oh, there we go. So like I could just open it up in my iCloud. All right. Let's give this a listen. Nice. Okay. I still feel like that kick is too loud. Translating over computer speakers. So I'm going to take this kick back half a decibel each. However, I did like the level of the kick in the back part of this. I'm going to bring it up by the equivalent amount there. So it's going to be quieter at first, and then when the beat hits, it'll be louder. All right, let's give that a quick listen. All right, here we go. Nice. All right, that'll do. Okay, now we're going to do a pass here on getting this up to volume. Oh, we're already at minus 14. I'll tell you what. I tell you, this is really cool. So we're at like minus 14 LUFS loudness units full scale right now. Looks like I might not even need to crank the maximizer past where we're at. Like this is plenty loud to go into the game. Honestly, this is plenty loud to go to streaming services too. Like if I'm at minus 14, I'll send something to Spotify. Sweet. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to dial in a little bit of the sound using the different capabilities of this ozone. So like right now I'm going to mess with the clarity. And so watch what I do. Every time I'm going to dial something, I'm going to bring it all the way up, all the way down, then dial it into where I want to be, because I want to hear the natural extreme of the sound. Now the loop will go a long way here. Don't want too much high end. I want enough that it's not muddy, but I actually don't want a lot of high end. Let's see what happens with this low end focus. I've not used this before. I want to see what happens with it. Clarity and the stabilize that we just dialed in. All right, let's check out when we have the full thing rocking and rolling here. Nice. All right, let's give that the old laptop speaker test. Okay. Let's give this thing a listen. What happened to my... what happened to my basses? Where'd you go, basses? Something went weird on that export. This is why, man, you always got to check your exports. I mean, for real. Like, never, ever, 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 ever send anything to anyone without checking your exports. Because sometimes weird things happen for no good reason. That was weird. All right. Why is it not exporting? That is super odd. It's just not coming out of these? I think I'm going crazy. Oh, there it is. All right, too much high. I'm gonna dial this back. Dial this back as well. Nice. All right, let's test that. All right, let's give that a listen. All right, here we go. Alrighty, let's check this. Nice. Great, awesome. All right, I'm just gonna pull the kicks back by like 0.3 dB. And we are done. All right, where be my kicks? Here be my kicks. Pulls back just by a scoochity scotch. Okay, now here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna move out of MP3 world. We're gonna move into a wave world. Why we want high quality audio here. I'm going to export this, leaving plenty of space for the reverb tail. Yeah, 24-bit, perfect. I'm gonna call this one lobby. Spencer. Okay, we'll call this for loop. Okay, this is all done now. I'm going to close this out. And we're going to bring in the for loop. I'm absolutely going to import my tempo information and my markers. And then I'm going to cut it right here in a loop, bring it over here, grab both of these, fade ins, fade outs. Let's test that loop, see how that sounds. Nice. Perfect. That'll do. All right, we're going to export this as a wave. First, we need to save this as my Warlord. Okay, it's going to be lobby. So my naming convention is going to be the track title, then the game. Yes, my Warlord, and then my name, and then version. Actually, we should do name, version, then everything. Final. Boom. That should about do it. Unless I just bounce it to the wrong place. Did I just bounce it to the wrong place? No, it's in there. We should save this. That's my Warlord. Lobby. Loop. Session. Okay. And let's give our final a listen here. And then it loops. All right, we did it.